Hey YouTubers, got another one for you. This one's pretty cool. All of us have cherished pets that we just love and adore, and we'd like to see them go to a better place. Maybe, doggy heaven or maybe something a little bit like that. I think that there's some other options, high-end options. People that have the money don't really have the option of doing something a little bit more spectacular, a little bit more out there, a little bit more, hey, I loved my dog or I loved my cat, I loved my pet so much that I want to do something exceptionally special. And from a scientific viewpoint, there's something you can do. And that is long-term encapsulation. Long-term encapsulation is not currently really being offered. I'm sure there might be some like cryogenics or something like that, but that's on another scale of what I'm talking about. So let's think about it. What I've got here is called Pet Forever. Pet Forever is another great idea that I've come up with it as time has gone by. Preservation of your cherished pet. Revive it in robot form. This is something in the future. They have subquantum interference detection, electron X-ray scanner tech, which we can map the brain of the pet with for the peptides and structure and recreate it in a robot silicon binary brain simulation. That is next generation stuff, but replicating a pet is going to be way easier. They don't talk, but they do have some familiarities to shapes, sounds, colors, all these different things. You could essentially recreate your pet. Now, I know this is like Pet Cemetery kind of thing for some of you, but I think that it could be the future where you could literally, your cherished pet is either getting older or is disabled, crippled, something like that, even before you put them down. But of course, we're talking about some pretty intense X-rays. So you might want to, wait until your pet passes. But then there's certain neural pathways that could be copied before, of course, your cherished pet passes. And that could, let's just go ahead and talk about the post, though, okay? Fido has seen their last day. Garfield, they're pretty much down. And it was a surprise, but at the same time, you kind of knew it was coming. And the pet knows you. This is something that I think that, even if we don't bring them back in some type of simulation, you could preserve them with almost a ceremonious kind of thing. So one of the things I ran across in my travels was ultra-high vacuum systems. And ultra-high vacuum systems are also low vacuum systems that you can use. You can literally freeze dry your pet in a thick aluminized mylar bag. You can heat it up slowly, apply a light vacuum, pull all the water out, and then pack that in either a stir welded, this is spin welded, this is stir welding. Let me rewrite that. Stir welded. Stir welded coffin at say like 1/2 inch thick or even 1 inch thick aluminum, which isn't really that expensive. Honestly, maybe a couple £100, but for the right price. You could also do CNC pictures of maybe their favorite place, maybe your picture. This can be something that your pet could be packed in various types of crystal sands, black crystal sands, white crystal sands, various minerals that could enhance Fido's passage through the underlife into the next world and protect your pet's unique signature for thousands of years. And what's interesting, if you use one of these metal caskets, I guarantee you, in the future, Fido will be revived. When we run out of these metals on the surface, they're going to start digging them out of graveyards. They're going to start digging them out of everywhere. So at some point, I guarantee you, Fido or Garfield or whoever, Fuzzy the cat is going to be revived because they want that metal. And you could put instructions right there on the casket. It says, hey, if you revive this, please contact this family. This is something that can really happen. And it's going to happen in the future. So why not prepare for it? Why not make it so that your pet is now the Tutankhamun of the pet world? You can see that when they dig up the mummified remains of pets in Egypt, they're almost given like deity status. Literally they're like put on display in museums and stuff. So honestly, I think that in the future that'll be one of the things. And these right here, with a stir welded lid, it's basically completely sealed. There's nothing going to get in there. And you could do some cool stuff too. You could use exotic materials like titanium. Literally you can go overboard. You can use copper. Copper is interesting because for every millimeter copper, you get like 10,000 years of durability when even buried. So copper is a great alternative as well. It's very heavy, very expensive, but definitely a good thing if you want to preserve your pet long term. And this would give you 5,000 plus years thereabouts. I said 10,000 for copper. Well, you could do that without it, but somebody eventually is going to start digging these things up. So at that point, like I said, you can leave instructions, or you could have special plots where pet forever plots are, and you know that it's there and it's protected by it because you've paid into it with the insurance. Now, a lot of people out there with really expensive jobs and lives and things like that have insurance policies on their pet. That can totally cover this. Totally cover this. So, I mean, I can tell you how to do this. I could set up where I know the companies that do all this stuff. So, but let's just look at the idea. And of course, I don't have time to do this, but I could, though, for the right price. This bringing them back to life is a real thing. You could really do this if you scan the peptides and you had the brain structure. See, animal brains are a lot simpler than human minds and human brains. So we already have most of them mapped out. We have monkeys mapped out, we have dogs mapped out, we have cats mapped out. We have really good maps of these animals existing already. So from subquantum interference detection scanning and from electron scanning as well. So I mean, now X-ray scanning, CT scanning. There's brand new CT scan now. CT scanning is more like for layers, whereas with electron diffraction you can get down to the peptides, and that's essentially what you'd want to do. You want to prepare it, and it has to be freeze dried. All the water has to be removed. It has to most of the water. You're going to get like 99% of the water, 97% of the water out of the animal, out of the pet, and then of course with the Mylar bag, and then with a proper valve clamp, you can seal that under a light vacuum and then pack that in here, and then literally completely seal this so nothing can get in. And the packing of the sand, from a resonance standpoint, well, I mean, you pretty much have a resonance cavity. If these are planar, flat planar, of course they're going to be flat planar, but I mean, if you wanted to do flat planar, then you're going to have a resonance echo cavity with the dog in there. And is that going to broadcast across the from a local kind of well, basically, if you look at the way gravity works, let's go over here and look at gravity real quick. We have the Earth. Nice marble, right? We have these huge influential things, mostly along the equatorial plane from the sun, that are essentially influential gravity waves, which I'm sure that people like Kip Thorne has told you about with his detector. Anyways, what they do is they go through the Earth, they get tuned to the local space-time, and then they do a loop, or they do little loops, and they just go back, go back, go back. You might end up with these particles going round and round and round and round because they're in orbit around the point of highest mass. Now, as you can see, though, they're coming through one side, penetrating the Earth, and popping out the other. Well, if you happen to have Fido's casket right here, well, it's essentially going to tune that to Fido. So, I mean, I guess you could just, the longer Fido's form is preserved, this actual structure, so if you had that radiating through like this, then you'd have essentially the tuned vibrations for what Fido is, literally. Now, could you feel that? Could you detect it? Well, it goes, this is a metaphysical / science bridge that I've crossed a few times and looked into, and there are some reality points that spiritualism kind of digs into science a little bit. It's mysticism, it's science in a pseudoscience kind of way. It's difficult to prove at this point. We don't have a lot of the detector technology that would be necessary. You can look into ley lines, you can look into all that kind of technology when it comes to past civilizations and how they dealt with understanding that type of technology. And you'll find that this kind of thing pops up from time to time in their writings, is that standing above, and if you ever visit a graveyard, man, I hate to tell you, when I go to a graveyard and I walk around, man, it feels weird there. I gotta tell you, if you've been, I know you all have been to a graveyard at some point in life. If you haven't, you probably should go out there. Go take a walk in a graveyard. It feels bizarre in a graveyard. It feels like there's something completely different. It's not just like visiting a big empty lot of dirt or rocks or stuff like that. Now, admittedly, I've been in some locations where there's large mineral deposits, heavy mineral deposits, tungsten perhaps, and things like that, and that feels weird too when you walk around those places. But in this case, we're dealing with Fido and the long-term preservation of Fido's unique signature here on Earth. Now, we're also dealing with the Pet Forever concept, which is using subquantum interference detection to recreate Fido's brain in a simulation. You could do CT scanning, get a basic map of the brain, but you could also do X-ray scanning, X-ray diffraction. You can go down and literally map the neural peptides, the remaining ones, the actual structure, take multiple maps and be able to recreate how that brain would function, how it would react to its optical nerves, everything. And that's how you'd essentially recreate. And in the modern VR simulations, you're going to see massive interactions on layers and layers and layers. There's going to be there's going to be object layers that we don't have now. You know, like the touch, sense of touch, temperature, things like that. Just, I mean, the interactivity of how would Fido play with you in a virtual sense? Would it be weird to play with a virtual pet? Or would it be awesome to play with your virtual pet and it's reacting to you? It knows your image. And that's something interesting too. I know that they've done scanning with the squid detection where certain parts of the brain are lit up at certain times when it knows its master and things like that. And that's something you're going to see in the future. It's not yet. It's getting closer, right on the cusp. So this is a great time to deliver Pet Forever to the Earth and to the peoples of the Earth, especially those of you who have money and don't know what to do with it. You could buy another stock, or you can protect your pet's future. You can help write the new history of American pets, or wherever you are. Maybe there's some really rich person who owns some exotic animal, and they're just the exotic animal. I think it's the interactivity that I'm trying to bring out from these robotic creatures, and sometimes old Yeller kind of pet, that was just that greatest pet. Those types of memory engrams, I think they're called, or imagery, and how it reacts to people and things like that, that can be captured. At some point, it'll be captured. And when you have really good images of a certain type of pet in a certain type of situation, that is going to be able to be used into, you see these Boston Dynamics and dogs like that. Eventually you're going to have a core capable of storing, Fido or Old Yeller or somebody like that. These perfect, awesome pets that were just so great to have around. And you could even make it so the memory engrams are, you can insert a picture of you. And now that pet, of course, would be following you around, whether it be robotic or virtual. Anyway, so that's the presentation today. Real quick, real fast, Pet Forever. I think it's an interesting kind of, not quite a pet cemetery kind of thing, but it is fun. It's fun to think about being able to bring our cherished, loved pets back from the dead, essentially, to interact with them, either in a virtual sense or from a robotic sense. And also, it's nice to think that they can be protected in their unique quantum signature here on Earth can be protected for long term, and you can go visit them and just go like be one with it. And there'd be different types of minerals that would enhance that type of thing. How would you get the most from this type of thing? You're probably going to want to use something dense, like bismuth or even lead. I mean, but lead, of course, it blocks energy, but at the same time, lead, tungsten, gold. If you got that money, make Fido's cage or casket out of gold. Silver, gold, anything of high density is going to increase this effect, and you're going to get a bigger fountain on top. And that's pretty much the best way I can put that when it comes to mixing this metaphysical with real science. And literally, this is just something I've had on the back burner for over 20 years, just kind of sitting there. And I'm like, why not? Why not? Why don't we have Pet Forever? Where is this? Pets have simple minds. Why can't we bring them back? I mean, why can't? Admittedly, there's some pretty elaborate pet cemeteries and pet funerals and things like that. I think that Fido, a good dog of that caliber, the best of the best, pedigreed, all these other things. There's something special about those dogs. They're smarter. They're just better breeds. They're just way better. And you know what I'm talking about if you have one of these things. You've been able to interact with one of these dogs. I had a rat terrier that was purebred. It was wonderful. One of the smartest dogs I've ever seen. And it was fun to play with. And he knew me. And we'd go everywhere. I was just wonderful having a pet like that. And I know you out there probably have a pet like that too. And I think that preserving them long term and getting this type of technology off the ground where you're really focusing on that revival kind of thing. I mean, can we bring Fido back? Yeah, we can. The technology's there. The math all checks out. So, once again, the math checks out. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Bye.